Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be trying out the new Natasha Denona Mini Sunset Palette. This palette retails for $25 and it comes with 5 brand new shades. This is supposed to be the baby of the Sunset Palette by Natasha Denona, which retails for, I believe, $129. Like I said, this one is $25, so you can get a little bit of a sample for the colors, and if you think that the Sunset Palette would be something that would be beneficial to have in your collection. I'm going to walk you through step by step how to get this look that I created today. I used all the shadows in this palette to really test them out and see what I think about it, if it is worth it, and just my honest opinions. So if you'd like to see how to get this look and my thoughts on a Natasha Denona Mini Sunset Palette, then just keep watching. So we're going to be playing with the Natasha Denona Mini Sunset Palette. It comes in a little box just like this, and this is what the palette looks like. As you can see, it is very small. Here it is comparing it to a normal single shadow. This one here is Makeup Geek Peach Smoothie. So as you can see, the pan sizes on the Natasha Denona mini palette are a bit smaller. However, this palette is only $25, so it ranges for about $5 per shadow, which the Makeup Geek shadows are $6. So if you break it down, it's right in the ballpark. If I would have known that this was how small the palette would be, I would have maybe reconsidered, but I also don't think it's that bad of a price, especially since these Lorac Pro Mini palettes are $15 and you get only 3 shades. So it's kind of a toss-up, but I did just want to point that out, that they are a bit smaller than normal single shadows. I also did purchase her 5-pan palette, and this is in the shade 2. And just for comparison's sake, these pan sizes are much bigger than the Mini Sunset. We have Guava, Apollo, Dirty Mars, Sunbeam, and Halo. So I am just going to go right ahead and get started. I did prime my eyes with the Catrice Liquid Camouflage Concealer and then set that with some Rimmel Stay Matte Powder. So to begin, I'm going to go in with the shade Guava. This is the lightest transition shade, and I'm going to go in with this with a clean Sigma E40 brush. This is my first time working with Natasha Denona shadows. I've heard so many great things about the formula, the mattes being very creamy, the metallics being very intense. So I'm excited to see how this works. And I'm just going to take that on my fluffy brush and blend it into the transition area. Now, like I mentioned, this is my first time working with the Natasha Denona shadows, and I have heard that this Mini Sunset palette has a different formula than her standard eyeshadows, so I will need to play around with it a bit. However, right now they blended well and they were easy to work with, but I don't think it's anything revolutionary, so I'm wondering if maybe the older formula with some of her more typical 28-pan palettes or the Star palette or the original Sunset maybe have a little bit better of a formula. These are not by any means bad. They did blend out very nicely, and I think the color payoff was good, but I'm not quite seeing why everyone is raving about these so much, especially for the higher price tag. Next, on a clean Sigma E25 brush, I'm going to go in with the shade Dirty Mars. That is this darker crease shade right here, and I'm going to work this into my lower crease and outer corner. Now I want to use all 3 of these metallic shades, so I think what I'm going to do is go from lightest out to the darkest. So I'm first going to start by packing some of this Halo shade right here in the inner third of my eyelid. And I'm just going to use an AOA Studio 122 brush. This is just a small concealer type of packing brush. Now I'm going in first with no wet brush and no glitter glue, just to see how the product performs on its own. So there's what that looks like. Now I'm going to be completely honest, I don't think that that is super intense or mind-blowing by any means. I am going to try it with a wet brush, and I have also heard that you need to use a glitter glue with her metallic shades, which, to be honest, I think is a little bit ridiculous considering the price tag on some of her other palettes. This one for $25 is not that bad. However, if you are spending over $200 for an eyeshadow palette, I don't think that you should really have to work that hard to get it to pay off the way that you would like. So I am going to go in with a glitter glue and try that all over my lid. First, going in again with that Halo shade. Next, I'm going to go in with Sunbeam on the middle portion of my eyelid. Once again, right on top of that glitter glue. And finally going in with Apollo, which is this burgundy shade. And I'm placing that on the outer portion. Now I'm just going to go back in and try to blend all the shades together where they meet. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other eye, starting with the glitter glue and then making the gradient between the three metallics. Now that I have my lid done, I want to deepen up the outer corner and the crease by using that Dirty Mars deeper brown shade and the Sigma E25. And I'm going to take this to try to blend out the metallic shades and really deepen up the crease. Now I do feel like we lost some of that metallic, so I'm going to go in with the lightest shade, Halo, and just pack that in the inner corner once again. Then take Sunbeam, and finally Apollo. Now I'm going to go in with the shade Guava, which is that lightest shade over here, and I'm going to use that to run it along my lower lash line. Now I'm going to take Dirty Mars on a flat definer brush and run this along the outer half of my lower lash line. To finish up the look, I'm going to highlight my inner corner and brow bone with the Wet n Wild Mega Glow highlighter in Precious Petals. This is a gorgeous sort of champagne highlighter, and I want to use this instead of one of the shades in the palette because I feel like the lightest shade might still be a little bit too dark. Now I'm going to go ahead and pop on some mascara, and we will come back to discuss my final thoughts on the palette. So this is what my completed makeup is looking like. Now as for my thoughts on the palette, I do think that this palette is worth $25 if you are looking for something that is very travel friendly and compact and has everything you need to create some different looks. However, I do think that a look like this is achievable with a different palette or maybe a cheaper alternative. For instance, one that came to mind was the Aphrodite palette by Bad Habit. This is what it looks like, and when you open it up you can see that you have some burgundies, some golds. You can create a very similar look to what I'm wearing with a palette like this, and this retails for $10. You can also get something very similar with the Sephora Pro Warm palette. So once again, this has some gorgeous burgundies and golds and a lot of transition shades. So this one is $68. However, you get 28 shadows rather than 5. So it's really just up to you. I do think that this palette is good. I think that the quality was fine. The pigmentation and blendability was there. I do wish that they were a bigger pan size considering they are smaller than most standard eyeshadows. But I just want to touch on one thing quickly. I am a little bit disappointed with the formula of this. Now, I don't want that to come off as saying that this is a bad formula because it is not. However, I've heard so many people raving about Natasha Denona's formula, how it's the best on the market, it's worth the money. And for me personally, I think that this is worth the money, but I don't think that I will be spending $240 on a 28 pan eyeshadow palette if the formula is just going to be average. Of course, my opinion may be wrong based on this palette. Like I said, there are some claims that the formulation has changed, and I really hope that that is the case because that would mean that the other palettes are much nicer and better in quality and formula, so then maybe it is worth it for those shadows. However, basing my opinion solely on this palette, I think that it is a good high-end quality, but I don't think that it is deserving of the luxury price tag that some of her other palettes have. Okay guys, so that wraps up this little try-on tutorial and mini review of the Natasha Denona Mini Sunset palette. I really hope you enjoyed this and found it beneficial if you were maybe checking into this palette and wanted some honest feedback. If you liked this video or would like to see more of these videos testing out products and if they are worth it or worth the hype, be sure to let me know in a comment down below and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Please subscribe to my channel if you have not done so already. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.